Did you know that the greatest political document in history ever written is basically just a breakup letter? Take note, unhappy lovers. You're in luck. You've just stumbled onto the most patriotic fitness channel on YouTube. And today, in honor of 4th of July, we're actually a little bit past 4th of July because last week was really busy. But happy belated birthday, America. And the reason the 4th of July is the birthday of America is because that's the day that the founders, at least most of them, signed the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence, one of the most important documents in history, but how many times have you actually heard it read out loud? How many times have you actually read it yourself? Do you even know what's in the Declaration of Independence? If you're going to be an American fitnocrat, if you care about being the greatest American that you can be and actually serving your community, being fit is important, but being politically informed and knowing something about America, that's probably more important. So today, I'm just going to read the Declaration of Independence. I'd love to take it point by point, but that would require, an hour, 2 hour long stream. And I don't think my phone has that much storage space. And I don't want to sit in my car for that long. I already have to pee as we speak right now. So let's get this done. There will come a day that I will be able to stream for hours on end like a Twitch streamer. But it is not this day. So we're just going to read the Declaration of Independence. I might add a little bit of commentary here and there. Maybe not. I don't know. Let's see how I feel as I'm reading. The Declaration of Independence. In Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, this is the part that Nicolas Cage reads in National Treasure, pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty, to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies. And such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained, and when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of the large districts of people unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. I'm going to pause right here. I probably don't have to tell you when it's not me. I don't have to tell you when it's now me talking and not Thomas Jefferson, because it suddenly goes from being beautiful and eloquent, powerful, to kind of dumb. If you didn't notice, we just went into a whole list of grievances. The first part of the Declaration is basically, it's kind of a, it's not you, it's me kind of deal, except what they're saying is, no, it's definitely you. It is you 100%. We want nothing to do with you anymore. And now here's why. And so he gives a list of 10 or so, 10, 12, something, lots of grievances. That's what we're in the middle of right now, is the list of grievances of why they are declaring such a bold resolution and declaring war against their mother nation. Because Britain was their mother nation. Let's continue. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time, after such disillusions, to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws of naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migration hither, and raising the conditions of new approbations of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. A lot of unfortunate phrases and word choices in that grievance. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. He has affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and acknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation. For quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond the seas to be tried for pretended offenses, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies. For taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our government. For suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, dissolution, and tyranny, already begun with the circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages and totally unworthy of the head of a civilized nation. I can just see King George reading this and kind of shaking his head. Okay, first of all, this is really reductive and a little dramatic, guys. Okay, sorry. Back to the Declaration, the most important political document in history. He has constrained our fellow citizens, taken captive on the high seas, to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us, and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is an indistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. That's the end of the list of grievances. Now we're going to get into the conclusion. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attention to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our emigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and of consanguinity. Consanguinity. Wow, that's a big word. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them, as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace friends. We therefore, we're almost done. We therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, they were already calling themselves the United States at this time. I think that was a relatively new development. Before this, they were the 13 separate colonies that saw themselves completely independent from one another. Now they're the United States of America. We therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress, got a little bit of goosebumps when I read that, assembled, appealing to the supreme judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of a right ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. And then shows the names of the 56 men who signed it. Side note, before we move on, or before I end this video, every single guy who signed this, almost every single person who signed this was Christian. So if people ever say that America is not a Christian nation or that it doesn't have a Christian founding, just point out to them that almost every single person who made and signed the Declaration of Independence was a Christian. And then they'll say, no, some of them were deists. Some of they're two big names that get name dropped whenever the religious thing comes up. Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin, deists. Okay. There's one other guy, George Wythe, who he was, his beliefs were based on Enlightenment principles or something. I guess you could call him a deist as well. All 53 other people who signed it were Christian. Same with the Articles of Confederation. Same with the actual Constitution. Almost all Christian. So that's just a little side note. Someday we'll go over each one of these points, point by point, and actually talk about the grievances. If that sounded like a bunch of gobbledygook, well, that's partly because they talked smarter back then, and also you got to know the historic. You got to know the historic facts around each grievance. So we'll go over that sometime as well. Anyways, I think that's all I got for today. Hey, go do some push-ups. This is a fitness channel, but it is the most patriotic fitness channel on the internet. So go do some push-ups. Go get into the best shape you can. I'm Dan Adams. Go forth, my fitnocrats.